sets, fires, puts it up.
All right, what is up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. I want to do a breakdown of this piece right here. Just kind of vlog about it a little bit. I want to also share with you guys like which tutorials I'm researching and learning from, because these guys that are doing these tutorials, man, they're just giving out a wealth of information that, you know, honestly is like, if you're not taking advantage of it and this is something you're interested in, you need to, you know, go take advantage of it. So just to kind of get into it, I did this 3D perspective piece here of Steph Curry. Steph Curry just broke the all-time three-point record last night at Madison Square Garden. He passed Ray Allen's all-time three-point record, and he did it in just about half as many games. So, you know, easily undisputed Steph Curry, the greatest shooter of all time. Definitely had to do a commemoration type of piece for him. You know, at the very least, him breaking that record inspired me to sit down and create something cool. So shout out to Steph Curry. So to give you some perspective on the perspective piece here, this is only my fourth piece I've ever done. So I've done three 3D pieces outside of this one before, you know, very simple style things, and I'll show you those in separate videos. But keep in mind, I'm very new to this. You know, I'm not going to sit here and do a full tutorial, but I will kind of break down what I did and who I learned from. So here we go. So just taking a look at the piece right here, from the front perspective, it just looks like a card or a magazine cover. But then as you kind of, pan to the side or even start to zoom in a little bit, you realize, these are different separate layers, all coming together to create the perspective of just one singular layer. The coolest thing about this piece, in my opinion, the thing I like the best, is the fireball. A couple of different elements went into this. First off, the sphere, which it's very simple. You basically go into your physics, create fluid. It's a flow, it's a fire and smoke inflow. Mess with the density and the fuel a little bit to get it the size and scope that you want it. It does come with a bunch of smoke, so you got to then tweak the smoke and how much smoke you want, how long you want the fire tail to kind of be, all that stuff. All of that is explained in a tutorial over here. I'll show you in a second. So outside of the ball, we have the wind tunnel. This is just generating an air force, which directs the flames where to go. In this case, we want the ball to make it look like it's shooting out of his hands. So we have a little wind tunnel pushing the flames down. Also the domain here. The domain, there's going to be some nodes to set up. It's nothing too crazy. It's actually very simple. And a couple times through, you'll start to understand like what this all means and why you connect certain things to certain things. And at first, it just looks like a jumbled mess. And you're like, okay, I'll just connect it because you tell me to. I don't really understand it. But I'm at the point to where I'm finally starting to understand why we're doing these certain connections, why we're adding color ramps and bump nodes and things like that. This is a domain. It's a gas domain, 64 resolution scale. There's a few other tweaks in here. The fire color right here. You want to check the noise. Some people have it as an adaptive domain. So now let's go into the tutorials that I used to create this fireball and this domain. So the first one being Poly F Jord. I believe that's how, I don't know if that's how it's pronounced, Poly Fjord. Really, really in-depth tutorial. He does a great job at really breaking down each individual piece and why he's doing it to help you really understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. I copied my fireball pretty much from this tutorial. He does a lot of node setting up to where you can actually control the length of the flame. You can control the length of the smoke, how soon the smoke dissipates, all that good stuff. So the base of my fireball was created using this tutorial here. And then I also used this tutorial over here by Olav 3D Tutorials. This was a really good tutorial. He breaks down kind of how to use adaptive domain, how to use wind elements to make it, simulate like the flames are pointing down. In this case, he's creating like a rocket taking off type of effect. And you can tell in this one he has a whole lot of smoke. In my case, I didn't want that much smoke. I just wanted all flame. So that's where all these cool nodes come into place, and you can kind of adjust each one of these to adjust the all different aspects of your fireball. And you'll be able to see it. The fireball doesn't look like this in the main edit. You guys will see that. So let's go on to the second thing here. I think my next favorite thing is the background here. This is an iridescent shading material. It's very simple to create, and it kind of gives this like holographic, multicolored effect, and you can tweak the colors and stuff. Like when you change the camera angle, I went with this blue to yellow effect for the Golden State Warrior colors, but you can really change it to anything you want. In this preview, it's showing like a forest background, but you can see in the final render I used Oracle Arena. You can see the crowd when you swing around to the back. You can see the banners up in the top and stuff like that. It's really cool. I went with a couple of neon lighting textures here with the goat and the 3-point. And let's go into which tutorials I used for both of those. So the iridescent background was a Ducky 3D tutorial. I use a whole lot of Ducky 3D tutorials, man. He's just really good at explaining things that look incredible down into their simplest form, and gets you to understand like why you're doing certain things. And I don't know. I mean, he just has some of the coolest 3D stuff on YouTube, and really easy to follow, real simple to duplicate, and you can kind of take his techniques and utilize them, on your own, which is kind of what I did. Here's another tutorial down here by Ducky 3D that I used to make the glass elements. So we have the Ducky 3D iridescent tutorial and the Ducky 3D cyberpunk text tutorial, which I used here and here. This is a background glass texture behind the neon, which is like a etched glass type of a material, which it's like a semi-translucent glass that kind of reflects the background a little bit. Here's that glass text, the glass material that I used on one of his other tutorials, and I changed the coloring to more of a yellow to kind of offset the center blue when you look at it from the front. Also did a little bit of embossing down here with the curry. You can see it's embossed into the background with a gold, like a wavy gold type of a texture. And then I did some embossing over here. This is more of a bump map, like a height map bump type of an effect here. And I used the same iridescent effect that I used on the background. I just made it colorless, so it looks more like kind of like a stamp of approval type of a thing. So for that kind of that embossed, or not even an embossed, it's like a reverse engraving that I did with the Golden State Warrior logo at the bottom left corner. I use this tutorial here by Blender Mania. He does a really good job at kind of showing you how to engrave onto objects like this and just make it look like it's engraved. And you can do that inverse effect, which I did over here. As you can see, I kind of did like a reverse engraving to where it pops out instead of goes in. This background here was another Ducky 3D tutorial using height maps that are generated by an app called JS Placement. A really cool app, lets you create a bunch of cool height mapping concepts, and you get to change all the different settings and come up with really random, cool, height maps that you can use. And then Ducky 3D also does a really good job at explaining these nodes and how to add emission effects. So it's kind of how you get the lighting, this blue neon lighting coming out of the height map. Other than that, it's Steph Curry, which is basically a cutout of an HD image. And the lighting setups here are spotlights aimed at different sections of the piece here. The lighting's one thing I could have improved upon in the final render. I don't think Steph Curry got enough lighting, probably because this light is way too far back. But so stuff to improve upon on the next one. And then the last but not least is going to be the camera rigging. I had 3 cameras, one camera here just to kind of do that front pull. It pulls in and then it pulls out. And then we attached a camera to a Bezier circle that follows that around and tracks an empty asset right there in the middle as it spins around to the back. So some of the camera tracking and camera movement stuff is stuff that I'm going to improve on, as well as the lighting, as well as the background. So on the next one, I don't want to just have a plain background. I want to have it like, you know, in some sort of cool environment. But where my PC is at currently, I definitely need a GPU upgrade here very soon in order to pull all of that off. It's very GPU intensive. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll show you guys the final render right now. Let me know what you guys think. Give me your feedback, you know, suggestions, thoughts, anything you guys want to see me do on the next one. You know, I'm open to anything, all conversations. So I appreciate you guys tuning in and watching, and we'll see you guys on the next video.
Steph Curry is the greatest shooter in the history of basketball. Better than Reggie Miller, better than Ray Allen, better than Jason Terry as a shooter, better than his own father, Del Curry. Better, better, better.